Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from Tales from the Front Desk. Story 1 is by Taryn. I'm a B word because you booked with a third party. The title pretty much sums it up. A customer called in tonight. She booked a reservation with a third party and did not like the amenities or room she was staying in. When she went to the front desk, they told her she would have to go through the third party site she booked the room with. At some point, she called the third-party line, and surprise, they weren't helpful at all. They did not want to give her a refund and denied her. So, she decides to call our customer service line. I listened to her talk for about 5 minutes. Once she is done, I apologize for the experience, but explain we would not be able to give her a refund and that she would have to go through the third party. She explains that she has already tried going through the third party and that they are no help. She says that she stayed at our property, so we should be able to assist, and she's tired of everyone telling her to go through the third party for a refund. I explained again that unfortunately she had booked through the third party site and we could not help her. She breaks down and calls me a B word and tells me to get off her phone and hang up. I calmly tell her, I'm sorry you booked through a third party. She calls me a B word again and tells me to hang up since I won't help her. I reply, I'm sorry, I can't because you booked through a third party. She then hangs up. Edit, so I want to say thank you to all the people who sent encouraging and kind words. I meant this as more of a general vent post, so it was appreciated. I want to clear some things up. 1, she wasn't checked into the hotel at this point. This was after she had checked out and tried to get a refund for her stay. I don't work at the front desk. I work in the customer service or call center for the hotel, so I could not change her room, etc. 2nd, in terms of third party, I understand people have reasons for booking it, and I'm not shaming anyone for choosing to do so. I booked third in a past when I was a broke college student, and luckily when I did, it never went wrong. However, even if it did, I would like to think I had enough wisdom to know not to try to bully the hotel staff or employees. The thing is, when you purchase third party, you are technically not our customer. The third party is, since it's their card on the reservation, and they booked the room through us to sell to you, and in turn, you're the third party's customer. So all complaints or issues must be made through a third party. Even if by some chance I processed the refund, it wouldn't have gone to her, it would have gone to the third party. In which case, they could and would have denied her a refund. It's okay to book third party, but you need to know that when you do that, anything that can and could go wrong is between you and whatever site you use. Prior to this moment, I did not know that that's what they do if you book with a third party site. They're pretty much doing this to get traffic to their website so they can make money on advertising, and then they sell you the room at a quote reduced price, and then they get all this money from ads and whatnot on their page. It's almost like a scam, but it's not. But imagine you're this guest that stayed at this place. You stay there, and then afterwards, when you're checking out, you're like, well, I didn't like the room. I didn't like the amenities. I didn't like what was offered. When you're checking out, you say, I don't like all those things, so I'd like to get a refund for my stay. That right there is the real scam. People scamming companies. I stayed there. I used the service. I didn't complain while I was here. I'm leaving now. I'd like my money back. That's not cool. Our next story is by Mr. Brannigan. The B-wordiest, Karen. Last night I was out for dinner with my folks having a grand old time when I got a text from the owner of the hotel I work at warning me that room 206 had been a pain in the butt about the pet fee, and she probably would argue with me about it in the morning. Cool. Always wanted to come back to work to a headache. Honestly though, I'm glad for the morning. Around 10:30 this morning, a woman came to the front desk and asked about breakfast. I apologized and told her it had ended. She said okay, then went to try to go to the breakfast room anyway. The door was locked, so she came back and asked if she could have anything from breakfast. I apologized again and said that breakfast was over, everything had already been cleaned up and put away. She grumbled, then walked away. Then she came back and said that her friend had come down earlier to try to grab breakfast for her, but it had been poorly stocked, so her friend hadn't been able to get her anything. So, could she have some breakfast? I apologized again and said I wish her friend had told me. I was quite busy this morning and wasn't able to check breakfast super often, so it may have gotten a bit sparse at points, but if she had let me know, I would have been happy to restock whatever was empty. But again, breakfast was over, so unfortunately I couldn't help her. She grumbled some more and left to go complain with her friend who I had seen go and get breakfast earlier. Then she came back and asked to confirm that she was down for a late checkout. Wouldn't you know, it's 2:06. I say yes, she's down for a 12 o'clock checkout. She argues that she was told she could have a later than noon checkout. I politely explain that we do not offer checkouts past 12. She insists that she was told she could have more time, and I tell her we do not offer checkouts past 12 and there are no notes indicating any exceptions being made. She argues with me some more, asks me if I was in the military and that's why I follow all the rules, and some other dumb comments before she finally gave up. She said she might want to stay another day and asked me about the price, and I quoted it to her and said we would need payment by 12 if she wants to stay again tonight. She said okay. At some point after 11, Rice Wine called, asking if someone who was in-house made a new reservation could they stay in the same room, 206. I said of course, that's no problem at all. Then 12:15 rolls around and we don't have a payment or a reservation yet, so the owner called the room to ask the status. She said she was working on the reservation and there was just an issue with the bank. Sure, of course there is. He said, okay, we can give you to 12:30. He then left because he had originally only stopped by to drop off some items for tomorrow's breakfast. At 12:25, the phone rang and the woman says she is still having trouble making the reservation and asked if she could have until 1 p.m. I told her I need the payment by 12:30, otherwise she would have to check out and then check back in when we got the new reservation. She argued and asked why I can't give her a break. I remind her that I had told her before she needed to pay by 12. Now it's almost 12:30. This was her break. At that point, she angrily hung up on me. A few minutes later, she called to tell me that her friend was a very important travel agent for a major credit card company and would be reaching out to the brand I work for. I told her that was fine and I'd already explained her options, and she angrily hung up again. A few minutes later, she came down to the desk with a Rice Wine agent on speakerphone for some reason, arguing with her and telling her about how the rep was from Guatemala. I had tried to explain to her why she had to give the rep her credit card number if she wanted to reserve with them. She left the lobby again, and a little while later I saw the reservation pop up in the computer and she came to the desk. I asked for her card and she asked what I needed it for. I explained that she only had given her card to reserve the room. I needed the card to change it. She groans and is like, "This is what I've been trying to say. It won't go through." I stared at her incredulously and told her I needed payment for the room. Like, what was the plan here? Both the Rice Wine agent and I had explained to her when she was on speakerphone that she would have to pay after the hotel got the reservation. She asked to pay cash and she just needed to run to the ATM. I begrudgingly offered her 10 minutes because I just effing wanted the situation to be over. She drained my patience and was using the fumes in the reserve tank. She kept yapping at me about something instead of leaving to go get the money, and I quite bluntly told her that I wasn't sure what she wasn't understanding. Obviously, she would have to pay. She gets irate and says, obviously, she's a stupido, and then said something about Guatemala. Not the country, referring to the Rice Wine rep as Guatemala. I don't remember what exactly it was, but it was rude and B-wordy and racist enough that it sapped up the last of the patient's fumes. I told her, all right, we're done. You need to leave. She said she wasn't leaving. I told her if she didn't leave on her own, I'd call the police. She said to call them, so I did. I called the non-emergency number and explained to the dispatcher that I needed an officer here for an eviction and trespass. The entire time, the woman is trying to talk over me or to me, and I ignore her. After that, I got to spend the next half hour with her in the lobby calling her friend to complain about me. She left a message. Her friend did not answer the phone. Then she called me a B-word. D-word that rhymes with trike. Said she feels sorry for me because I had such a sad life and how unnecessary it was for me to call the police, and she hoped they'd send a cute officer. I'll give her credit, though. She never called me fat, which most people do when they're mad at me and listing out all the things they think I'm insecure about. Also, she couldn't wait until the police got there and she wondered what lies I'd tell them. And just wait till they hear her side of the story. She kept trying to engage with me and I ignored her entirely, except when necessary. which was when she asked for a key to the room and I told her that she could have access to the room when the police arrived. After I answered her one time, she kept trying to engage me again, saying my name over and over again. I only answered her one more time when she asked if I called 911. I told her I had called the non-emergency number. She had gotten impatient with the police and began debating if she should just call them herself to see if they'd hurry up. A little after 1, the housekeepers came down to the breakfast room for lunch, and she tried talking to them, but they don't speak much English, so they had no idea what she was on about. Then, every time I interacted with them, she would say something in a crappy, sarcastic Mexican accent. Ironically, she then began musing that perhaps I was just treating her like this because she has a Jewish last name, and that I must be conservative because who else would treat her like this? While I have done a very good job of not reacting to her at this point, I did nearly snort but managed to hold it in because obviously a reaction is what she's looking for. Then her friend called her back and she complained about me some more, saying I'd had it in for her since that morning. Finally, at long last, the police show up, and she came and stood at the desk to wait for them, smirking like the cat that got the cream. I greeted the officer as he walked up and told him I needed her evicted and trespassed. He said okay, and asked how long she'd been staying at this hotel. I told him she had just checked in yesterday. He turned to her and asked for her ID. She said, "Wait, don't you want to hear my side of the story?" The cop looked a little dumbfounded and said no, they have a private business and they can trespass you if they'd like. The look on her face honestly made the entire thing worth it. I've never seen a more surprised Pikachu. Another cop arrives and they go outside and I can see that she is arguing with them. She's being quite loud, so occasionally I hear snippets of what she's saying, and she definitely yelled something about Guatemala. Then her B-wordy friend from earlier showed up, I guess, to help see if the two Karens would improve their situation. It didn't. While the police were dealing with her, a regular came to check in. He asked if everything was okay and gestured to the police outside. I said everything was under control. A moment later, she came up to the night window, which was a few feet to my right. I could see her out of the corner of my eye as I got the dude checked in. He says, there's a woman outside the window making a heart shape at you with her hands. I said something like, "Oh, is that what she's doing? I'm not going to look. She's just trying to get a reaction." Then he realized why the police were there. Finally, a few minutes later, she and her friend got into their cars and left. I cannot wait for the BS customer care complaint we're going to get from her. And you know it's funny, my boss was wrong. About the only thing she didn't argue with me about was the pet fee. Edit for clarification, I provided a key for the room once police arrived and she retrieved her things and her dog. Spoiled, entitled people. Why would she want to stay at this place if she thought that the customer service representative at the front desk was being such a B-word? She wasn't being a B-word at all. You have to pay for a room before they can reserve it to you. You can't just say, "Oh, my card's not working. It won't go through, so you should just let me stay here until it does." Because that could be weeks. Imagine if every hotel just said, "Yeah, sure, you can stay until your card works. Go ahead and just occupy the room. It's going to take a week to go through, but you'll pay us eventually, so it's good." No. GTFO, Karen. And don't come back. Our stories for today have come to a close. We're only doing 2 of them because that second one was very long. Until we meet again, have a great day.